So it's very important to us to create a system of watering that doesn't take that much time. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Art of Creation Homestead. My name is Jason. We're in Southwest Ohio. We are small space gardeners, okay? For any of you guys who don't understand, who don't know us, who haven't watched this enough, we are small space gardeners. And what we do here, though, is we do grow a decent amount of food. It's a large garden there, and we do some container gardening out here and whatnot. But, you know, obviously, I have a full-time job, correct? So we don't have time necessarily to spend a lot of hours watering. But as you can see behind me, it could take quite some time to water all those, to water all this, to just simply water everything that we have, right? So it's very important to us to create a system of watering that doesn't take that much time. I mean, we do a lot of things to do all this, plus, shoot and edit the videos. So it takes time, and what we've done to save ourselves some time, but also try to water everything efficiently and effectively, is use soaker hoses, which seems like a very simple idea, but we do want to take a minute to show you our system for watering a lot of these things in the ground, and also kind of show you how it works, what you need to do, and what you can look for and what to expect if you're looking to create a watering system for your own garden, okay? Real fast, what we have here is we have a 4-way splitter, okay? Now, in hindsight, maybe we didn't necessarily need the splitter. We could have done something different, but what it does do, it allows us to turn the water on and dictate which ones are getting watered. So these two that are down is where the water's running to. These two that are up are shut off. And once these two are done, typically we'll go back and turn these on and turn these off. And what we have hooked into them are these flat soaker hoses, okay? There are two kinds of soaker hoses typically that you can buy. You have these, which just, again, they drip water out, and they're vinyl, they're flat. Once there's no water in them, they flatten out like these over here. See, they just flatten out, and you can then store them more easily without having to wind them up. They just kind of flatten out and kind of stack up. Now, there are advantages to these flat soaker hoses. They're more durable, they will last longer, and they will store easier. Whereas the cheaper soaker hoses that you can buy, they're stiffer, they take a little bit more to store. They had to wind them up and kind of create a bigger kind of reel of them. But also they do dry rot, okay? After a couple of years at most, they're going to dry rot and just fall apart, and you have to buy more. These should last longer, which I think we have two that we've had for a few years now, and they're still great, but they do kink up as well. See, what's going to happen is once you turn this on, I'll show you. See, this soaker hose is ran through all these raised beds, and you can tell it is dripping water. But once you turn it on, it might have a kink in it like that, and you got to go and find that kink, because it's going to shut off water, obviously, to everything else. So while it is a good system, and that does slowly drip water across everything, and it keeps you from getting water on top of your plants and weighing your plants down with it, because like these are bush beans, and we can't top water them because it's just going to collapse everything, and then you might knock blossoms off, and they're going to fall apart, which they collapse a little bit as they are from the weight and from the wind. But top watering, like if you get a hard downpour, it's just going to press them down. So it's easier to bottom water them like this rather than trying to run a nozzle from a hose up underneath them, right? So this takes care of that and time, whereas here you're going to take a little bit of time once, hopefully, to get this set up. It's going to take a lot longer to water everything by hand over and over and over again. And one thing I'm not fond of about what we've set up here is that, like this, see how this is, it does flow more water if it's hanging down. There's more water flowing down this way, and if I were to elevate this, that water is now going to run this way, see? And so in reality, it may actually be better for us if we have individual quick connects. See, we're here, we have a quick connect. This is a quick connect that just pops off and pops on to this. It may be better if we had individual quick connects to each one, and just moved the quick connect, okay, this hose to this and back and forth. That way we don't have this, a couple of feet of hose here hanging down just watering nothing. And that way it could be up in there a little bit better, watering everything more appropriately. But we set it up with the 4-way so that we could do 2 rows at once, but we may actually go back and change that. But that's a good starter for how we're watering an in-ground garden. We just now started running soaker hoses through these raised beds. We may go back and change that part. One thing you do have to remember, like I said, is when you turn it on for the first time especially, you're gonna have to go through and make sure that there are no kinks. I'll show you. So we're gonna turn these 2 off. We're gonna turn these 2 on. These go through the tomatoes and the peppers. And see, look, see where this is kinked up right here? Open that up, just like that. Now that water's gonna flow. Okay. Once you do that, you need to give it a minute, give it a chance for all the water to flow, because those are 50-foot hoses, okay? So we got 2 50-foot hoses that water has to get into. So give it a minute to work its way through there and maybe work out any kinks on its own. But then you need to go check and make sure that there's nothing twisted up or bent up that will hinder the water from flowing. Because one thing is about these, because of the nature of them and the way you buy them, they do kind of create kinks on their own because they are flat and they bend. Okay, so to run in a circle makes it a little more difficult because they want to bend at the corners instead of just running in a circle. Like right here, we ran it through this corn, and it does take it will bend, but if you try to bend it too tight, it's going to do this. Okay, so and once you got water in it, it's easier to create these circles rather than keep them from bending. Now again, it does work better on a level surface, okay, where our garden does slant a little bit, but it does work fine like this. And I'll show you where we ran it through the tomatoes. Now as you can see, this hose is ran all the way up through this line, all the way to the top, okay? And we just ran it right behind each plant, okay? Because it's a slow drip, okay? You actually want it maybe a little bit away from the stem so water's not gathering up on the stem, especially for tomatoes. But now it's a slow drip, so you won't see immediate impact. If you're like me, you like to see immediate results. I want to see immediately that this ground is getting soaked very, very thoroughly. It's not going to happen that way, okay? It's going to be a slow drip. It's going to take time. That water, you may not even see a big, massive difference on the surface. So you may have to, like, once you ran it for possibly an hour, okay? Once you ran it for an hour, like for us, we've got 32 tomato plants in this garden and like 20 something peppers, and so it has a lot to run around. So give it a chance to actually soak into the ground and water your tomatoes appropriately and your peppers appropriately, okay? Now you see here, this is towards the end of one of the hoses. So the water has traveled down and back up, and immediately there's no real impact. See, the ground's dry, but this is damp, so there is water getting here, okay? You really do need to give it a chance to work. And once you've ran it, maybe you're gonna say, okay, this way didn't work for me. Let me look at it again and figure out what does work exactly. And you may find that there are areas that are slowing the water down, like this. This is slowing water down just a little bit, okay? And sometimes you find areas like this where it's kind of hit a dip, it's dipped down right here. And so a lot of the water is going to travel back to this spot. So you may want to just lift that up a little bit, and now you see the water is running more appropriately and not dripping here like crazy. Naturally, it's harder for water to travel uphill. So we are looking uphill a little bit right here. So this hose comes down this way, travels back around here, and back up through this corn, and back up that way. So this is going up a little bit. So it may be a little harder for water to make it up that way. It's going to travel down this way really well, but as it starts to head back up, it may be a little slower. So you just gotta give it a minute to figure the things out. But you can come to one spot and see, well, okay, look, there's water here. Maybe it needs to just be elevated a hair so that it runs up here a little bit better. And sure enough, you see, water's running to here a lot better there than if I had it down here. If I have it here, water's running back down in. See, up, there it goes. But as you get up in here, you can see there is water coming out. Now again, it's not an immediate plug and play where, hey, I'm going to plug this in and walk away. You do have to go check and make sure it's right, but it does give you a much more efficient way long term over the course of the summer to water your gardens. You can run those through raised beds, run it through your in-ground garden. It may be more difficult to do containers because, well, they're containers and they're individuals, but it does work great for raised beds and for in-ground gardens. You have to set it up, give it a minute, and then troubleshoot possibly and leave it alone after that. But it does work really well. To use those quick connects to run your hose. You can just easily connect it in from your water hose to that, and then you have another quick connect on like your wand or your sprayer, and you can quick connect back to the sprayer if you need to. And see, like this is what the quick connect other side looks like. So you can just pop that off that splitter and then pop it onto here and just really simply go back to changing the way you're watering. So I hope that helps you figure out a good watering system for your garden, for your raised beds, however you're growing food. It's again those flat sucker hoses that are, I think they're vinyl-ish polyester type fill. They do cost a little bit more to start with. I think we paid maybe $20 a piece for those. You get but then you can go buy those splitters if a splitter is going to work for you. Where they're maybe a two-way splitter, because you can get four-way, two-way splitters, whatever, and they come, all different brands make them. Tractor Supply has them. I'm sure you could probably go to Walmart and find them, Lowe's possibly. We got those on Amazon just because it's easier. But you can find those splitters and quick connects anywhere, and find out what fits your needs. Do you just need two? Do you need one? You know, do you need a four-way like we did there, where you can shut those valves off? It really helps to not have to go back and forth and screw those things on constantly and take them back off and run this and run that. And it's a big time saver. It would take me 2 hours to stand there and water that garden, just the in-ground portion, over the course of in this heat, maybe three or four times a week, 2 hours at a time, maybe longer. It's such a big help to have those soaker hoses ran to where Angela has to come out here maybe early in the morning, run the water hose down there, pop it off, turn the water on and leave it alone. And you have to determine for yourself how long you leave it on there. I think we will leave that on each section for maybe 90 minutes, honestly, somewhere through there in the heat. If it's not as hot, maybe you don't need to do it as long, but in the heat of the summer, the hottest part of the summer, where it's drier as well, 90 minutes, a few times a week is probably what you're gonna have to do. But it does everything at once, and you're not having to stand out here and be less productive and stand in the sun doing that mess, right? So thank you guys so much for watching. We do appreciate it. My name is Jason. This is Art of Creation Homestead. We love y'all. God bless you and goodbye.